This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Max and Mia podcast. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Rachel. So if you're wondering where Max and Mia are, don't worry, they're totally fine. They just needed a break, so we're jumping in to keep things rolling for a few episodes this December.
Exactly. We'll be hanging out with you guys for some of this month, and honestly, we're pretty excited about it.
All right, so let's get into it.
Okay, listeners, picture this. You're chatting with someone in English, things are going smoothly, and then bam, your mind goes completely blank. You know exactly what you want to say in your native language, but your brain is stuck translating word by word, and by the time you figure it out, the conversation has moved on.
Oh, the worst feeling, right? It's like your thoughts are trapped behind a glass wall. You can see them, but you just can't reach them fast enough.
That's because you're not thinking in English yet. You're still running everything through a mental translator. And here's the thing, fluency doesn't come from knowing more words. It comes from rewiring how your brain processes the language.
So today, we're going to hack your brain. We're going to show you how to make English stop feeling like a puzzle you need to solve and start feeling like your actual voice.
And we're not just saying that because it sounds good. We've actually lived this. I've been teaching English for over 6 years, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen students, brilliant people, mind you, break through this exact barrier.
Exactly. And I've been right there with them, working with learners at every level. We've seen what works, and more importantly, what's a total waste of time. That's why I can tell you right now, if you apply what we talk about today, you'll notice a difference in how you speak within weeks, not months, weeks.
To show you what we mean, let's talk about a student I had named Yuki from Japan. She knew every grammar rule in the book. I mean, she could explain the past perfect continuous better than most native speakers. But here's the crazy part. She couldn't order a pizza without sweating because she was translating pepperoni in her head. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, absolutely. I've had students who could write beautiful essays, but freeze up when someone asks them, "How was your weekend?" It's that gap between knowing English and actually living in English.
Exactly. And Yuki told me something that stuck with me. She said, "Matthew, I feel like I'm watching a movie with subtitles in my brain, but the subtitles are always 2 seconds behind." That's what translation does to you. It creates this frustrating delay.
And the thing is, it's not her fault. It's not anyone's fault. That's just how most people are taught. But once Yuki learned to bypass that translator and start thinking directly in English, everything changed. She went from panicking over pizza toppings to confidently presenting in English at her job.
And that's what we're going to help you do today. All right, so here's how we're breaking this down. We've got 3 phases for you today.
Phase 1, immersion in your micro-environment. We'll show you how to create little pockets of English in your daily life without moving to another country or spending a fortune.
Phase 2, the internal monologue and narration. This is where you start building that voice in your head that thinks directly in English. No more translating your thoughts. You're going to generate them in English from the start.
And phase 3, problem solving and your mental dictionary. We'll teach you how to describe anything, even when you don't know the exact word. And stay tuned for this one, because we're going to share a cheat code for when you forget a word in the middle of a meeting. Trust me, it's a lifesaver.
And here's our promise to you. By the end of this episode, you won't just understand how to think in English. You'll have 3 concrete techniques you can start using today. Not just boring theory, but tools that actually work in real conversations.
Before we dive into phase 1, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to master English in 2025. Seriously, we're dropping episodes like this all month, and you don't want to miss them.
All right, let's get started.
Okay, so before we jump into the practical stuff, we need to talk about what's actually happening in your brain when you're trying to speak English. Because once you understand the why, the how becomes so much easier.
Exactly. So here's the deal. Your brain is lazy. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's actually incredibly efficient. Your brain is constantly looking for the path of least resistance, the quickest way to get things done without burning extra energy.
Right, and this is where something called neuroplasticity comes into play. Neuroplasticity is basically your brain's ability to form new connections and pathways. When you were a kid learning your first language, your brain was building these massive highways for that language. Every word, every phrase, every grammar pattern, it all got hardwired into your brain through repetition.
And those highways, they're strong, they're fast, they're automatic. So when you need to express an idea, your brain naturally goes, oh, I know the fastest route. Let me just grab this from the native language highway and then translate it over to English.
But here's the problem. Translation is a detour. It's not a direct route. You're essentially taking information from Highway A, translating it, and then trying to merge it onto Highway B. And that takes time, mental energy, and it's where all those awkward pauses come from.
Now, there's also something called linguistic interference that happens when you're learning a second language. Linguistic interference is when your first language basically crashes the party and messes with your English. It could be the way you structure sentences, the idioms you try to translate directly, or even the rhythm and sounds you're used to.
Yeah, like when someone says, I have 25 years, instead of I'm 25 years old, because that's how you say it in their native language. That's linguistic interference in action. Your brain is pulling from the native language template instead of the English one.
And the thing is, this isn't a flaw. It's not that you're bad at English. It's just that your brain hasn't built those English highways yet. The connections are there, but they're more like dirt roads, bumpy, slow, and not automatic.
So when we talk about thinking in English, what we're really talking about is building new neural pathways. We're creating direct routes in English so your brain doesn't have to take that translation detour anymore.
And here's the good news. Because of neuroplasticity, your brain can absolutely build these new pathways. It doesn't matter if you're 15 or 50, your brain is still capable of forming new connections, but you have to train it the right way.
You can't just study harder. You can't just memorize more vocabulary lists. You need to rewire the way your brain processes English. And that's exactly what the 3 phases we're about to share are designed to do.
Think of it like this. Right now, your brain sees English as a foreign code that needs to be deciphered. But with the right training, English can become a language you just use. No decoding, no translating, just thinking and speaking.
And that's the shift we're going to help you make today. So if you've ever felt frustrated because you know the words but you can't get them out fast enough, or if you've ever wished you could just turn off that translator in your head, this is for you.
All right, now that we know what's happening behind the scenes, let's talk about how to fix it. Let's dive into phase 1.
Okay, phase 1 is all about creating an English bubble in your everyday life. And I know what you're thinking. Rachel, I can't just move to London or New York. And you don't have to. You can build immersion right where you are, starting today.
But before we get into the how, we need to talk about the difference between passive vocabulary and active vocabulary, because this is crucial.
Right. So passive vocabulary is all the words you recognize when you hear them or read them. You know what they mean, but you don't actually use them when you speak. Active vocabulary, on the other hand, is the words that are ready to roll off your tongue at any moment.
Think of it like this. Passive vocabulary is like having tools sitting in your garage that you never touch. Active vocabulary is having those tools in your hands, ready to use whenever you need them. And the problem most learners have is that they keep adding more tools to the garage without ever actually using them.
Exactly. So the goal of phase 1 is to take words from your passive storage and move them into your active toolkit. And the way we do that is through constant, meaningful exposure in your environment.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most people will tell you to stick Post-it notes all over your house with English words on them. And yeah, that's a start, but if you just write table on a sticky note and slap it on your table, your brain is going to ignore it after day 2.
Because it's boring. Your brain doesn't care about the word table unless there's something emotionally or sensorily connected to it. So instead of just labeling objects, we're going to do something called emotional tagging.
Emotional tagging is when you describe objects not just by their name, but how they feel, look, sound, or make you feel. So instead of writing table on your Post-it, you write smooth wooden table or cold marble table, or even the table where I spilled coffee last week.
Yes, because now you're not just learning a word, you're creating a memory around it. And memories stick way better than random vocabulary.
So let's say you're in your kitchen. Instead of just thinking refrigerator, you could describe it as the loud humming fridge that's always full of leftovers. Or your couch could be the cozy worn-out couch where I binge-watch shows on weekends.
And here's the key. Say these descriptions out loud. Don't just think them. Your brain needs to hear your voice producing these words in context. That's how you move them from passive to active.
Now, about those Post-its, because they can be super effective if you use them right. The mistake people make is they go crazy and cover every single object in your house. Suddenly, you've got 50 sticky notes everywhere, and it's overwhelming.
Right, and then you just start ignoring them. So here's a better strategy. Start small. Pick 5 objects in one room, let's say your bedroom. Put Post-its on those 5 things with emotional or sensory descriptions. And here's the important part. Every time you interact with that object, read the Post-it out loud.
So, if you've got a Post-it on your lamp that says warm yellow lamp, every time you turn it on or off, you say warm yellow lamp. It takes 2 seconds, but you're training your brain to automatically associate that object with those English words.
And once those 5 words become automatic, like you don't even have to think about them anymore, you move those Post-its to 5 new objects. You're gradually expanding your active vocabulary without overwhelming yourself.
Another thing you can do is create context zones. For example, make your bathroom your English zone. Everything you do in there, you narrate in English. I'm brushing my teeth. The toothpaste tastes minty. The water is cold.
Ooh, I love that. And you can do the same with your morning routine. From the moment you wake up, narrate it. I'm stretching, I'm yawning, I'm turning off my alarm, my phone screen is too bright.
The goal is to make English a natural part of your environment, not something you only access when you sit down to study. Because when English is woven into your daily actions, your brain starts to default to it instead of constantly reaching for translation.
And here's something really cool. Studies on language acquisition show that learners who engage with vocabulary in multisensory ways, meaning they see it, say it, touch it, and connect emotions to it, retain that vocabulary up to 70% better than those who just memorize lists.
So phase 1 is about making your environment work for you. You're not just learning words, you're living with them, and that makes all the difference.
All right, so to recap phase 1, use emotional tagging to describe objects, start small with Post-its and expand gradually, and create English zones in your daily routine. Do this for 2 weeks and you'll be shocked at how naturally English starts flowing.
And with that foundation in place, we can move on to phase 2, where things get even more interesting.
All right, phase 2 is where the magic really happens. This is about building that voice in your head that speaks English automatically. And I'm not talking about sitting down with a textbook. I'm talking about training your brain to think in English while you're living your life.
So here's the technique that changed everything for my students. Sports commentary narration. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You're going to narrate your life like you're a sports commentator calling a game.
Oh, I love this one. So instead of just doing things silently, you describe everything you're doing in real time, out loud, with energy and detail.
Exactly. So let's say you're making coffee. Instead of just going through the motions, you narrate it. All right, he's grabbing the coffee beans from the shelf. Oh, and now he's opening the grinder. Listen to that sound. He's pouring the beans in, and yes, he's grinding them up. The aroma is filling the kitchen.
See how much more engaging that is? You're not just saying, I make coffee. You're using present continuous tense, descriptive vocabulary, sensory details, and because you're doing it like a sports commentator, it's actually fun, so you'll stick with it.
And here's why this works so well. When you narrate in real time, you're forcing your brain to process and produce English at the speed of life. There's no time to translate. You have to pull directly from your English reserves.
Plus, you're practicing grammar without even realizing it. You're using different tenses, prepositions, adjectives, all naturally, in context.
Now, here's where we level this up. Perspective switching. Most people only practice thinking in first person. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But if you really want to master English, you need to practice all three perspectives.
Right. So first person is I am making coffee. Second person is you are making coffee, like you're coaching yourself or giving yourself instructions. And third person is he is making coffee or she is making coffee, like you're narrating someone else's actions, even though it's actually you.
And why does this matter? Because when you switch perspectives, you're practicing different conjugations, different pronouns, different ways of structuring sentences, all without opening a grammar book.
It's sneaky grammar practice. Your brain is learning the patterns through repetition and context, which is way more effective than memorizing conjugation charts.
So let's walk through an example. Rachel, let's do a real-time exercise right now. I'm going to describe making breakfast, and I'll switch perspectives as I go. Everyone listening, I want you to try this later today with whatever activity you're doing.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. I'm walking into the kitchen. My feet are cold on the tile floor. I'm opening the fridge. Wow, it's really full. I'm grabbing the eggs. The carton feels cold in my hand.
Nice, that's first person. Now switch it up.
You're placing the eggs on the counter. You're reaching for the pan. Be careful, you almost knocked over the salt shaker. You're turning on the stove. You can hear the click, click, click of the ignition.
Love it. Now third person.
He's cracking the first egg into the pan. The egg sizzles immediately. He's grabbing the spatula. He's flipping the egg. Oh, not bad. The yolk is still intact. He's reaching for the pepper, adding just a little bit.
And just like that, you've practiced 3 different perspectives in under 2 minutes. Your brain is absorbing grammar patterns, vocabulary, and fluency all at once.
Now, here's the challenge for everyone listening. Pick one activity today. It could be washing dishes, getting dressed, walking to the bus stop, whatever, and narrate it for just 2 minutes using sports commentary style. Start in first person, then switch to second person, then third person.
And I know some of you might feel silly doing this, especially if you're talking out loud. But here's the thing. That awkwardness is actually proof that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, which is exactly where learning happens.
And if you really can't talk out loud, maybe you're on a crowded train or something, do it silently in your head. It's not quite as effective, but it's still way better than not doing it at all.
Another tip. Start with simple, repetitive activities. The more familiar the action, the easier it is to focus on the language instead of figuring out what to say. So things like your morning routine, cooking, cleaning, exercising, these are perfect.
And as you get more comfortable, you can add complexity. Describe not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it, how it makes you feel, what you're thinking about. I'm washing this plate, but honestly, I'm so tired. I just want to finish and sit down. The water's too hot. I should adjust it.
Yes, because that's how real thinking works. It's not just a list of actions. It's thoughts, emotions, observations, all mixed together.
And here's what's going to happen. After about a week of doing this consistently, you'll notice something. You'll catch yourself thinking in English automatically, without trying. You'll be walking down the street and suddenly realize your internal monologue has switched to English.
That's the moment you've been waiting for. That's when you know your brain has built those new neural pathways we talked about earlier.
So, phase 2, to sum it up, use sports commentary narration to describe your daily activities. Switch between first, second, and third person to practice different conjugations naturally, and commit to just 2 minutes a day of focused narration.
Do this for 2 weeks, and you'll be thinking in English more than you ever thought possible.
All right, now let's move on to phase 3, where we're going to give you that cheat code we promised.
Okay, phase 3 is all about what to do when your brain freezes. Because, let's be honest, even after you've done phase 1 and phase 2, there will still be moments when you can't remember a word. And that's totally normal.
Right. The difference is, fluent speakers don't panic when they forget a word. They have strategies to keep the conversation flowing, and that's what we're going to teach you right now.
So the technique is called circumlocution, and it's a fancy word for talking around the word you don't know. Instead of stopping and reaching for your phone to translate, you describe what you mean using the words you do know.
Let's say you're trying to say screwdriver, but you can't remember the word. Instead of freezing, you could say, that tool you use to turn screws, the metal thing with a handle. Boom, you've communicated what you mean without knowing the exact word.
And here's what's beautiful about this. The person you're talking to will probably just say, "Oh, you mean a screwdriver?" And now you've learned the word in context, which means you're way more likely to remember it next time.
Exactly. You're turning a moment of forgetting into a learning opportunity. But more importantly, you're keeping the conversation alive. You're not interrupting the flow to stare at Google Translate for 30 seconds.
So let's practice this. Matthew, pretend you forgot the word refrigerator. How would you describe it?
Okay, I'd say, it's that big white box in the kitchen where we keep food cold so it doesn't spoil.
Perfect. Or you could say, it's the appliance that keeps milk and vegetables fresh. Either way, you've communicated the idea.
Now, the key to getting good at circumlocution is practice. So here's an exercise. Pick 5 random objects around your house and practice describing them without saying their names. Use function, appearance, location, whatever helps.
And the more you do this, the faster your brain will get at it. Eventually, circumlocution becomes automatic. You won't even realize you're doing it.
Now, let's talk about breaking your Google Translate addiction, because I know a lot of you reach for that app the second you don't know a word.
And look, translation apps are useful, but if you're using them constantly, you're reinforcing that translation pathway in your brain. You're keeping those old neural highways strong instead of building new English-only routes.
So here's what you do instead. When you encounter a new word in English, don't immediately translate it. Instead, look at the image that pops up in your head. What does this word make you visualize?
For example, if you hear the word cozy, don't think of the translation in your language. Think of a warm blanket, a fireplace, maybe a cup of hot chocolate. Build a mental image around the word.
Because here's the thing, native speakers don't think in definitions. When I hear cozy, I don't think comfortable and warm. I feel it, I see it, I experience it mentally.
And that's what you want to train your brain to do. Connect English words directly to concepts and images, not to translations. This is called building a mental dictionary, and it's one of the most powerful things you can do for fluency.
So when you're learning new vocabulary, always pair it with an image, a feeling, or a memory. If you're learning the word exhausted, don't just memorize it. Think about a time when you felt completely drained, how your body felt, what you looked like. Lock that English word to that experience.
Now, let's talk about collocations. This is the secret sauce that makes native speakers sound, well, native.
Collocations are words that naturally go together in English, like make a decision, not do a decision, or strong coffee, not powerful coffee. Native speakers don't think about these. They just know them because they've heard them together a million times.
And when you learn collocations instead of individual words, you think faster because your brain doesn't have to construct the phrase from scratch. It just grabs the whole chunk.
So instead of learning the word make, learn make a mistake, make progress, make an effort, make sense. Bundle them together.
Same with adjectives. Don't just learn quick decision, quick question, quick glance, quick fix. Your brain will start recognizing these patterns, and when you need to use them, they'll come out automatically.
And here's a tip. When you're reading or listening to English content, start noticing which words appear together frequently. Write them down as pairs or phrases, not as isolated words.
You can even create categories. Like for rain, you might have heavy rain, light drizzle, pouring rain. It's raining cats and dogs. Now when you need to talk about rain, you've got multiple options ready to go.
So, phase 3, let's recap. Use circumlocution when you forget a word. Describe it instead of translating it. Build a mental dictionary by connecting words to images and experiences, not translations. And learn collocations to think and speak in natural chunks.
This is the cheat code we promised. When you master these 3 techniques, those moments of blanking out will become rare. And when they do happen, you'll handle them like a pro.
All right, we've covered a lot today. But before we wrap this up, we need to talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough, the cultural and psychological side of learning English.
This is so important because you can know all the techniques in the world, but if you're mentally blocking yourself from speaking, none of it matters.
Right. And one of the biggest barriers I see is the fear of making mistakes. In many traditional educational systems around the world, mistakes are seen as failures. They're penalized. So there's this immense pressure to be perfect before you even open your mouth.
Exactly. And it's a very human thing. As adults, we have egos. We don't want to look foolish in front of others. We've spent our whole lives learning how to be competent in our native language, and suddenly we feel like clumsy beginners again. The fear of embarrassment is universal.
But here's the truth that needs to be said. You cannot become fluent without making mistakes. It's literally impossible. Mistakes are not the opposite of learning. They are learning.
Think about kids learning their first language. They make mistakes constantly. They say things like, I goed to the park instead of I went to the park. And what happens? Adults gently correct them and they learn. Nobody shames them for it.
Exactly. But somewhere along the way, we lose that permission to mess up. We start believing that every sentence has to be grammatically perfect, that every word has to be pronounced flawlessly, and that perfectionism kills fluency.
Because fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being understood. It's about communicating effectively, even if your grammar isn't textbook perfect.
And here's something I tell my students all the time. Native speakers make mistakes too. We say, me and him went to the store instead of he and I. We mix up who and whom. We start sentences and change direction halfway through. Language is messy.
So if you're listening right now and you've been holding yourself back because you're afraid of sounding stupid or making mistakes, I need you to let that go. Your mistakes are proof that you're trying. They're proof that you're growing.
And honestly, most native speakers are just impressed that you're speaking their language at all. They're not sitting there judging your grammar. They're trying to understand what you're saying and connect with you.
Now, there's another psychological shift that happens when you start thinking in English, and it's something people don't talk about enough. Your identity changes.
Yeah, this is fascinating. A lot of language learners report feeling like a different person when they speak another language. It's not just in your head. There's actually research on this.
Right, because language and culture are deeply connected. The way you express humor, emotions, even the way you think about time and relationships, it's all embedded in language.
So when you start thinking in English, you might notice yourself becoming more direct, because English tends to be more direct than many other languages. Or you might find yourself expressing emotions differently.
And some people find this uncomfortable at first. They feel like they're losing a part of themselves or like they're pretending to be someone they're not.
But here's how I like to frame it. You're not losing yourself. You're expanding yourself. You're adding a new dimension to who you are. Think of it like learning to play a musical instrument. You're still you, but now you can express yourself in a new way.
I love that. And the truth is, being multilingual makes you more adaptable, more empathetic, more capable of understanding different perspectives. It's a superpower, not a loss of identity.
So embrace the shift. If you feel a little different when you speak English, that's okay. That's actually a sign that you're becoming truly fluent, that you're internalizing the language beyond just translating words.
And remember, thinking in English doesn't mean you have to think like an American or a British person. You bring your own unique perspective, your own experiences, your own culture into the language. That's what makes you interesting to talk to.
So give yourself permission to make mistakes, permission to sound imperfect, and permission to evolve as you learn. That's where real growth happens.
All right, now let's bring this home.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground today. Let's do a quick recap of the 3 key takeaways you need to remember.
Number 1, create your micro-environment. Use emotional tagging and post-its strategically to move vocabulary from passive to active. Make English a natural part of your daily surroundings, not just something you study.
Number 2, build your internal monologue through sports commentary narration. Describe your actions in real time, switch between first, second, and third person, and train your brain to think directly in English without that translation detour.
And number 3, master the art of circumlocution and learn collocations. When you forget a word, describe it. Build a mental dictionary with images instead of translations, and think in chunks, not individual words.
If you commit to these 3 phases for just 2 weeks, seriously, just 2 weeks, you'll notice a massive shift in how naturally English flows for you.
And remember what we said about mistakes. They're not your enemy, they're your teacher. Give yourself permission to sound imperfect. That's where growth lives.
Now, if you found this episode valuable, please hit that subscribe button. We've got more game-changing content coming your way throughout December, and you definitely don't want to miss it. And hey, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell us which phase you're going to try first. Or, if you've already been practicing any of these techniques, share your experience. We read every single comment, and your stories actually help other learners feel less alone in this journey.
Before we go, we want to leave you with something to think about. There's a quote that perfectly captures what we've been talking about today.
A different language is a different vision of life. That's from filmmaker Federico Fellini. And it's true. When you think in English, you're not just learning words, you're opening up a whole new way of seeing the world.
So don't just learn English, live it, think it, feel it. Make it a part of who you are.
All right, everyone. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Rachel.
And we'll catch you in the next episode. Keep thinking in English.